Hey folks, so I thought I'd tell you a little quickly what these two readings are about. These are both from around 1980, but 1980 was a time in which people who were studying writing started to use psychological approaches to make sense of how writers actually did the writing. Prior to that, we used to study writing itself, a thing on the page, and then try to figure out how it was structured and then tell people, go do that. Well, people ran into trouble that way. So instead, we're looking at how successful writers operate. We study them and then try to help people learn how to function the way successful writers operate. So these two essays are kind of seminal. They started a series of research that followed. That's why we still read them. First one by Sandra Perl, right there, is called Understanding Composing. And what Perl did, she studied certain writers, but in particular, one of them she names Anne here. And she used something called writer's protocol, meaning as she had a writer write, she had that person speaking aloud, their thinking process. Then they study that transcript of their thinking process to see what kind of moves they made. And Pearl has watches this one person write, and every time this person writes, she pauses. She's writing along, she pauses, figuring out what to do next. And so as she's talking her way through it, and then Pearl realizes that there are three main things this writer does to get herself going again. She looks back, retrospective structuring, at some little bits of discourse it said, sentences, paragraphs, that kind of thing. Or she looks ahead. What's my main goal? What's like the thesis thing I'm headed for? What's the main claim I want to try to get to? Or just pauses and waits, called felt sense, waiting until it kind of feels right to go forward. So I'll let you read about felt sense because that's a really key idea here. The second essay is by Mike Rose, and Rose down at UCLA years ago, and he had a bunch of students in the writing center would come in talk about writer's block. What happens if they have writer's block? And so he tried to study different groups of them, and he came into those who have blocks and those who don't have blocks. And those who have blocks do a particular kind of thinking that gets in the way. And he describes several of them here. And then those who don't have blocks have a different kind of thinking. They have ways of thinking that gets them out of trouble. And so he lays those out here. And I've had people read this essay for years, and almost always somebody says, that's me. So pay attention to what kind of a writer you tend to be in these kinds of situations and see how Rose can help you. Okay, so that's what we're working on here. Looking forward to it.